Haha, the cat's out of the bag. Nikon announced Z9.
It's official. So we've actually had a chance to put our hands on the Z9, and we're going to just tell you our thoughts and feelings about it because you will have already seen the specs.
Exactly. Everyone knows about the specs. Why won't we talk about our impressions instead?
Yes, exactly. So first up, 45.7 megapixel stacked CMOS sensor. That's very exciting. I was kind of thinking, how are they going to make it the speed demon that it is supposed to be and then put loads of megapixels in it? So this is kind of on par with quality-wise, the D850.
Yes, but much, much faster. It is, according to many people, the sensor that has the fastest readout in the world currently. It's faster than A1, according to Nikon rumors. We will find out in the test later. But it reads the information so fast that it allows for very fast tracking. It allows for 8K 60 frames per second. You name it, it does it so fast, you can't even notice it.
Exactly. And it also shoots 20 frames per second. So we did have a little play with that. It's ridiculous. I mean, if you have ever held a D4 or 5 or 6 that shoot between sort of 10 and 14 frames per second, you'll know that that's plenty fast enough. But 20 frames per second is phenomenally quick.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, and the buffer is big enough that it will actually shoot 1,000 shots without stopping as long as you've got a very fast memory card in there.
At 20 frames per second. So basically what they said, 1,000 is the figure. Actually, there's no limitation there. It will depend on the capacity and writing speed of your memory cards. Currently, memory cards are fast. Will they be fast enough to shoot 1,000 frames at full resolution? We don't know yet.
We don't know. It's going to have 2 CF Express card slots. So obviously CF Express are faster than XQD. I think the fastest one we've got at the moment is around 2,500 megabytes per second.
That's true. The XQD cards are supported as well. So, but for people who have already XQD cards, you can use them. Obviously, they will be slower. So I guess 1,000 frames at 20 frames per second may not be possible.
Absolutely. So first thing that we did when we picked up the camera is we tested out this incredible eye, face, body recognition. So it has animal IAF, so animals and birds, so dogs,
Yes,
cats,
a lot
birds.
of people were waiting for the bird's IAF, and it is there.
Yeah. But also people, not just eye recognition or face recognition, but also upper body.
Upper body, that's right. So it does what your iPhone did
A few years ago.
a few years ago. Yeah.
So it also has vehicle recognition, which includes bikes, trains, planes, and automobiles.
Fantastic. So pretty much, if it moves, it tracks it.
Yeah, essentially. It has a new processor, so XSpeed 7. I think that when we look, I don't know about you, but when I looked through the viewfinder and we kind of just did a shot panning across the office.
I thought you were saying I saw the processor.
I saw the processor, it was amazing. No, the
It
processor
winked
thing
at me.
was, and it was like, hi. So we did a panning shot across the office and there were various different faces in the room, and it very quickly would go from, I mean, it was so quick that I was not expecting. I was expecting the delay and there was no delay. So I was incredibly impressed with that.
Yeah, we tested with 24-72.8 lens, which is their pro range, the part of their holy trinity together with 14-24 and 70-100. It looks really fast. Couple of tests I did. So there was a person sitting in front of me in the middle, and it would track this person's eye, and then the moment I would move left and right with the lens while keeping that person in the frame, the box would stay there. And it was pretty much instantaneously. So the second thing I tried, I had few people in the frame, and it shows an active person with the yellow square. So it's either focused on the eye, or if it can't see the eye, let's say when person turns away, it goes to the face tracking. But you also have white boxes. And those are the people that are in a frame that camera shows you that you can track as well. And when you shoot, all you have to do is just flick the direction part to the left or right, and it switches from one person to another. Now, that has been possible with Z6 and Z7.
It's true.
But it wasn't practical because it was so slow. There was significant delay. Even if when you move the focusing point to another person, it would take several seconds to refocus. This has happened so fast that literally the moment you flick to another subject, it just refocuses automatically. And it is the first time in my life where I feel I can use face recognition for professional use. For me, this is a selling point because this is the first camera in mirrorless system that I can say, okay, it's better than my D850.
Yeah.
It's just full on much better, and it's actually can be used with the face recognition because I'm a single focus point person. I
Yes.
just like to keep it in the middle and just focus and recompose.
Yeah.
I think Z9 would be used with face recognition.
Might change your thoughts and feelings on that.
Exactly, and it will change the way a lot of people use their cameras.
Yeah.
Remember when we talked about this sense of I can't trust my camera fully?
Can't be trusted. Yes, I do remember that.
So that is the first camera where I say, yes, I can potentially do a leap of faith and trust the camera. So that's how good it is. And we tested the pre-production model. So I really want to try a proper production model to see if that has been improved. And obviously, if it's so fast already, what we're going to have with firmware updates.
Yeah, exactly. Now, speaking of firmware updates, so the camera does shoot 8K 30 frames straight out of the box. There is a firmware update which will be available for free that will allow you to then shoot 8K 60 frames.
Yes, we specifically asked if it's going to be free, and they said yes.
Yeah, which
it's just,
is fab.
yeah, it's in development. We don't know the time frame when it's going to become now.
Yeah. It also, very exciting to me, it has a sensor protector. So we did actually activate this on and off. You've got the option to automatically put the sensor protector in place when the camera turns off, and then you take the lens off, and then you can see that the sensor is nice and protected. So being someone who has an issue with dirty sensors on mirrorless cameras because of all the lens changing, no matter how careful I am, this was a great addition, I think. And the fact that you've got the option to have it on or off
That's true.
is helpful.
It does look like a mechanical shutter.
It does.
It is not, but it does look like a mechanical shutter. So I wouldn't poke my finger in there because, yeah, I don't know how robust it is. So just don't do this. Don't do the test unless you're on YouTube and you want to get 1 million clicks.
Yeah, that's very sad. Don't do that. Don't try this at home, kids. It also shoots natively 64 ISO. So
Yes.
64 to 25,600, which is great. I mean, I would have expected it to maybe do a little bit more, but actually being 45 megapixels, I can understand.
Makes sense, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you do also have low 1 and high 1 options as well. So I think it goes to 32 ISO at the lower end and it goes to 51,200. So for a lot of people, it's going to be pretty good. We will see camera being used close to North Pole as well, which is probably really dark as well. So I guess we will find out how high with ISO you can go. And obviously the ISO performance, we've seen some shots at the presentation that were taken with a 12,000 ISO and they looked pretty clean.
Yeah, exactly. Now it is weather sealed and I believe it goes down to, what is it, -10 operating?
Absolutely. It is better than D6.
Yeah.
So that's how good it gets. So D6 was kind of top camera for weather sealers. It is better than D6.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about your feelings. So you held the camera. So what's your feel about the controls, the button layout? What you thinking about? What's your focus?
I mean, I felt that it feels very much like a Z6 or a Z7 in where everything is. They've moved a couple of bits and pieces, but that's okay. But overall, very robust. I think as a replacement for those flagship body users who have been waiting to go mirrorless, this is kind of the perfect transition. It has custom settings, banks instead of the U1, U2.
Oh yes, we have a return of custom banks.
Yeah, so that's kind of makes it geared towards the pros because obviously that's what they use.
Yeah,
on
no
their existing
U1,
cameras.
U2 settings anymore.
No, which is, I think, a bit of a shame, but you know, for working pros who are already using flagship bodies, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to have both, but I agree with you. That's, people who are used to custom banks, they swear by it.
Yeah, exactly. I was very impressed with the fact that it could track faces even when the eye was not really clear. So even if you couldn't see the eye because it was in shade or someone was looking down or up or whatever, that was my main impression actually, was just how fast it was and how comfortable it felt. It didn't feel too heavy.
Yes, I personally just love to have a proper sized camera in mirrorless system.
Yeah.
It's just nice to have. The grip felt really big and robust. It's definitely bigger than Z6 and Z7. So your fingers go really nicely and deep there. So there's no pinky hanging off as well. The bottom grip as well was quite large. So for people with large hands, it's going to be quite good. And then you have access to function 3 button as well, which is nice when you're shooting in portrait mode. So I guess for a lot of people, I think, can change probably, switch from full frame to DX crop mode if you want to. Little things like this, they're there.
Yeah.
Overall, camera feels quite robust. You've got the autofocus switch where it used to be. So, the little lever, autofocus, manual focus switch. The interesting thing is you do set your autofocusing on continuous through one button, and then you set your frame rate on continuous low, continuous high through another button, which is on top.
Yeah.
So that's something I found interesting. Also, the screen at the back, it looks very interesting. You can shoot portraiture and move the screen almost 90 degrees, which is very nice. It does feel robust. It doesn't feel flimsy, but it does look very strange because we used to kind of current Nikon street.
It's got like a double hinge system.
Exactly. So I would say, I personally think that I would be careful with it, but at the same time, it looks robust. So speaking of the grip and the battery inside, it's a new battery, ENEL18D, which will have its own charger. It's a single charger now. It's MH33. We did ask if they release double charger, and they say, well, not in plans. But at the same time, you can charge the battery in camera and the second battery on the charger itself.
Yeah.
And actually, if double charger charges one battery at the time, in this case, you will charge both batteries simultaneously because one is going to be on the charger and you're going to have a proper AC lead in it, and you can get EH7P, I think it's included with the camera, that you will be able to charge the battery inside the camera. And the good thing is they do include chargers with their cameras, wink, wink, and other brands.
We also have a new type of RAW recording, which is called Nikon RAW, is it?
Yeah, NRAW, yeah.
NRAW. And that will allow you to shoot the same quality as uncompressed RAW, but in a much smaller file size. I think the tests are going to need to be out in terms of how that translates in real world terms, but it's very interesting for people that maybe have shied away from cameras like the D850 because they're worried about the size of their RAW files.
Yeah, at the moment I'm being skeptical on that because Nikon had S-RAW before and it wasn't really a RAW file, but at the same time, I think it's something we will test together and we'll have a look at it. If NRAW is as good as RAW, uncompressed RAW, so then it will be, again, a groundbreaking technology.
Bit of a game changer, really.
Absolutely.
The price of the Z9 being 5299.
Let's just say it again, 5299.
Yeah, is an incredibly competitive move on the part of Nikon.
5299.
Yeah.
Okay, A1 price in UK is 6499. 5299.
He's very excited. It is very exciting. I think it opens up the Z9 to so many more photographers as well.
When I heard it, I teared up, I clapped, I
Standing ovation.
Exactly. I was giggling like a little girl. We seriously expected to be at 6+. Being so aggressive with this price, I think it's not only will make D6 users happy because D6 is more expensive camera. It came out at 6299 at the time. It's also will make a lot of people who were thinking that Z9 is not a camera for them. They will start to think about it.
Yeah, it's a sizable difference. So anyway, that's a very aggressive but smart move on the part of Nikon to make this camera more available to more photographers. There was the announcement of the FTZ II, which is quite a small announcement. Essentially, it's the same product, but with the tripod mount shaved off so that it's more comfortable to use when you're shooting telephoto lenses.
Yeah, from what we were told, that FTZ2 will eventually replace FTZ1. So FTZ1 will be discontinued as soon as the stock has been sold. Effectively, it's the same thing in a smaller package.
On top of the Z9, we also had the announcement of the 100 to 400 f4.5 to 5.6 S lens, which was on the roadmap and we were expecting. I think that is a wise move on the part of Nikon because obviously when the Z9 was originally slated to be announced, it was an Olympics year. It would have been great to have had maybe one of the professional telephoto primes to go with the Olympics camera. But now the 100 to 400 is going to be a much more versatile lens. There are so many photographers begging for telephoto lenses for the Z range.
Definitely. Till today, we had a bit of a void on the long telephoto lenses and pretty much we were limited to 70-200 lens and FTZ adapter with a long F mount lenses. Now we got 400 range, which is really nice. The size-wise is about the same as 70-200 lens. It's a little bit on the heavy side. One interesting thing they did with that lens is what they call some sort of center gravity, where you zoom in on a lot of lenses nowadays, the front extends a little bit and it becomes a little bit front heavy, which puts stress quite a bit on the mount of the camera. But also, let's say if you're using it on gimbals, like let's say DJI gimbals or other stabilizers, then it may get a little bit wonky because a lot more weight now is put on stabilizer. A lot more work the stabilizer has to do to balance it. So the way they designed it, now when you zoom in to the subject, then you got the front element moving to the front and back element moving to the back. Therefore spreading the weight and keeping kind of the balance in the middle, which is really interesting.
It is. That lens will also work with the Z teleconverters, which is a very, very good piece of news for those who bought the teleconverters to go with their 70-200. That means that you will be able to effectively double your range on the 100-400 if you've got the 2x converter.
We now have 2 lenses supporting it.
Yay. The 100-400 will be priced at $2,699. So that's kind of on par with the 80-400 actually.
Yeah, when it came out, it was around the same price. So that's kind of expected.
Yeah, not much more we can say about that. Last up, we had the 24-120 f4S lens, which is a complement to the 24-70 f4. So it's kind of, if that wasn't enough for you, then here's a little bit more focal length. I will say this was an unexpected lens. It wasn't on the roadmap anywhere.
That's true. So do you think the 24-105, which was on the roadmap, became a 24-120 lens?
I have that feeling because it seems very weird for them to have both. Don't really need both.
That's true, unless you make one is kind of 2.8, but then it would be quite big, isn't it? So, or 2.8 to 4.
Yeah, then I think it's unnecessary.
Do you need 28-105 now since 24-120 f4 exists? Probably not.
I don't think so. But anyway, we'll see. There will be a new roadmap released as well. So we will be speculating all about that on Friday's live stream.
Absolutely. And I sincerely hope that the Z 24-120 is better than the F Mount version.
Which I thought was jolly good anyway. The 24-120 will be 1,099 Great British pounds.
Including VAT.
Including VAT over here. So that marks it as a little bit more expensive than the recommended retail on the 24-70 F4.
But it is in the same line as 24-120 f4 F Mount lens when it wasn't priced as a part of the kit.
Exactly. We haven't been able to get our hands on the lenses yet. We weren't given the opportunity to look at prototypes of those. But overall, I think we're really pleased with today's announcements.
Absolutely. Stay tuned and be ready for more content covering all the new releases very soon.
Thank you very much for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.